Hey, God bless you, Social Cam fam. This is your boy Mike Johnson with another word of encouragement. Praying that your Thursday is starting off awesome, knowing that God is sustaining you, He is keeping you, He is fully aware of what's going on in your life. And I just pray that you're being encouraged and motivated, knowing that God has got you in mind. You are His creation. You are His valued possession. And so this is the time not to be full of worry or anxiety, but to know that God is able to sustain you and keep you because you are His trophy. You are the best thing He's ever created in this lifetime. And so He is fully aware of what you are in need of and also what He desires for your life. Coming from Matthew chapter number 6, where we find this is the culmination of Jesus kind of teaching on the principles of the kingdom, kind of the early stages of Jesus' ministry. So I want you to use your imagination. We find Jesus is sitting, with a couple of His disciples, and we find a throng of people coming to hear what Jesus has to teach. Jesus is looking around and He sees groups, He sees crowds coming together to sit at His feet to listen to the principles of the kingdom, to listen to what He has to say. Who are these people? These are people full of issues, circumstances, situations. These are people who are desiring wisdom, desiring understanding. They sit at the Master's feet because they needed an upliftment. They needed encouragement. They needed direction. They needed to know exactly what to do in times of chaos. They were times of being consumed by fear. A lot of them were dealing with, they were in need of a miracle. A lot of them were in need of a touch, in need of change to take place in their life. And they sat at the Master's feet believing that the words that came out of His mouth would change their life forever. We find in Matthew chapter number 5 where Jesus is kind of starting off with, again, the principles with about the kingdom. He talks about the Beatitudes. He kind of gives the foundation of sanctification, talking about being the salt and the salt of the earth and the light of the world. He talks about teaching about anger. He's teaching about adultery. He's teaching about making promises of oaths, and he begins to kind of go down the line of some principles that really impact our life and help us to live better lives. But then we find in Matthew chapter number 6, verse 25, where he makes kind of a charge. He kind of speaks sternly. He says to stop worrying about your life. And I can almost, if I can imagine myself, I was sitting in the crowd and I'm like, what are you talking about? Stop worrying about your life. Being anxious, being full of fear and doubt. Don't be anxious. And then he makes the analogy. He says, if your God is able to sustain the birds in the sky, if your God is able to provide water for the blades of grass on the ground, and knowing that God values you more than them, what makes you think that He will not take care of you? So He's focusing on the people who find themselves consumed by the moment or the emotions that have been created in their feelings of doubt, fear, and anxiety. And if I can be honest, and even for my own self, kind of going through some experiences where it's easy to allow the emotions to consume you, knowing that what God is capable of. When you're dealing with an emotion that's very challenging and difficult to stomach, it often kind of withdraws the attention from putting your faith and trust in God. What is faith? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. It's difficult. It's oftentimes, we can be honest, to focus in on what you don't see when you're always reminded of what you do see. You're always reminded of your bills. You're reminded of what you need to do. You're reminded of the obligations of the day, obligations of your life. But notice what Jesus is saying. Stop worrying. Be anxious for nothing, knowing that your God is able to sustain you and keep you. So He finds it, and it's a word of encouragement for you and myself today, is not to be consumed by anxiety. My brothers and sisters, you have to be reminded in times of chaos, in times of unsureness, in times of fear or in doubt or anxiety. Know this, that if God is able to sustain the creations of this world, He's also able to sustain the prized possession, the apple of His eye, which is you and myself. God has you in mind. He knows exactly what you are in need of. He knows exactly what you want. He knows exactly what you desire. And He's able to supply your every need according to His riches and glory. Your responsibility is not to be consumed by how you feel for the moment, but allow your mindset to be consumed by the promises of God. For the promises of God are what eradicates the fear. For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but a power, love, watch this, and a sound mind. So my prayer for you, my brothers and sisters, this Thursday morning is for a sound mind, knowing that God is able to grant you the peace that surpasses all understanding, the joy of salvation, a sound mind in times of instability. It is only our God who is able to give you a sound mind in the midst of a storm. It's only our God who is able to give you a sound mind when things are being shaken all around you like an earthquake. Be confident in this thing, that even though you are surrounded by the things that are impossible, that seems impossible, your bills are impossible, your issues are impossible, you're consumed by the anxiety of your life because things seem impossible, be reminded and confident of this thing, that the things that are impossible with men are possible with God. The things that are impossible with men are possible with the Lord. So we cannot compare our ability to God's ability. He is sovereign. He is able to do all things according to his power and his glory. So be confident, be encouraged, be inspired, not to be consumed by anxiety and fear, but walk with the soundness of mind, knowing that God is granting you peace in the midst of the storm, because he's able to sustain you. He's able to keep you. He's able to provide for you. Why? Because he loves you that much. God bless you. Take care. Worry free, drama free, stress less, and know this: God's got your back.